Keep it or change cars, the motoring podcast for you.
I'm on record as saying I wish for the day when we don't refer to a Chinese car as a Chinese product. If you think of a Toyota or Suzuki, we don't say I'm buying a Japanese car. The same with Kia or Hyundai, you don't say I'm buying a Korean car. When you talk about Chery, Amoda, JQ, BYD, we always refer to it as a Chinese car. We want to change that. Today, I'm going to change the perception of what people think about the Chinese vehicles. And why? Because we've got an exceptional guest in studio, VP of one of the newest Chinese brands, Jetour. You've just got to say the coolest sounding name in the industry. Nic, welcome. Tell us a little bit about Jetour in South Africa.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure.
Jetour, like you said, is the one of the new kids on the block, we call it. We started last year in October retailing, but a lot of the hard work was done months and months before that with getting everything up and ready. So we've been retailing cars since October, so we're 5 months in now. We've had a really good run up until now, and we believe that we are about to set the benchmark in what we call affordable luxury.
I can see that. If there's one thing that stands out about any Jetour, you take the name Jetour Dashing, that is a good-looking car. The lines of these cars, the interior, the quality, absolute standout. But what is Jetour? We all know Chery in South Africa, so let's look at Chery as the international holding company. There's certain sub-brands in South Africa. Am I correct in saying Amoda, JQ, and Jetour is, I don't want to say a sub-brand, but it's a subsidiary of Chery.
Correct.
So let's give you an example. The year is 2017. You would not have heard of the brand Jetour. If you said to somebody Jetour, it would have been a Delta pass going across the USA or Europe on a jet plane. 2018 January, the brand was launched internationally. Where does it sit within the Chery Group?
So within the Chery Group being the holding company, we are one of the subsidiaries, right? So the tagline is affordable luxury. So it's a subsection and a different section of vehicles that they are producing and a certain segment that we're focusing on. More the travel and the lifestyle vehicles than your everyday commuters and that. And that's why you'll see in our range that we've brought in, we haven't brought in an entry-level vehicle. We've pegged it in probably the most exciting, other than the LCV segment, where we've got 2 medium-sized SUVs that we compete in.
And in that space, who would you see, if I may ask, forget about the Chinese products for a second, who would you see as your competitors in that space?
So it's very difficult to pinpoint specific cars in South Africa, but anywhere between 400 and 500,000 mark,
right.
New and used, and in the small to medium, almost to large SUV space.
But what is interesting, when you say 400 to 500,000 rand today, it's a lot of money as a number, but not a lot of money for a car. You don't look like you're spending 500,000 rand and getting a 500,000 rand car. You look like you're spending 500,000 and getting an 800,000 rand car. Would I be right to say that?
Yes. So we went out and inspect our vehicles with the South African customer in mind. With Jetour International, we were the first right-hand drive. So we got to pick our specs, make sure that it fits the South African market and what the consumers want. Sean and team, my head of marketing, went out and did a whole lot of research. And what we found was that 60% of South African consumers were willing to venture out of traditional brands, if you want to call it that, and have a look at what other brands are out there. And of course, there were many elements that people were worried about, etc. And one of the big points that came out was spec. Everybody wants the best bang for buck at the moment.
Cool.
Everybody wants the most spec, even if they don't use it. They still want it in the vehicle.
Now, I've got 10 years on you. In the 1980s or 1990s, what did Car Magazine focus on? 0 to 100, 100 to 0, mid-range overtaking acceleration, kilowatts, Newton meters. If you said to the younger generation today, what is the Newton meters or kilowatts on your SUV? It's fair to say they wouldn't have a clue, but tech, absolutely.
100%. So almost you take something like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
What is that?
Apple CarPlay?
Remember, I'm from the 80s.
Yeah. So basically, everything that you need to do on your screen needs to mirror your phone.
Of course.
I don't want to have a GPS plugged onto my windscreen anymore. I want my Spotify ready to go. That's become the new Bluetooth. I mean, I remember years ago starting my career when we introduced Bluetooth into vehicles. And,
it was radical.
It was radical, and everyone went, there's absolutely no ways they'll steal our data. now we share data with everything. And if your car doesn't have it, you're not on the consideration list.
Now, last week we spoke about the Chinese products investing in South Africa. You've done something that has absolutely resonated with me. I always believe in putting a face and a name to a brand. That's what I've done with the podcast. You're the first VP or anyone from a company that has reached out to us and said, Michael, we would value being on your show and sharing the story. Now, I look at you today and I'm identifying the leader of Jetour. Lovely gentleman, I can trust him. Let's go back to the 80s and 90s I spoke about earlier. Toyota, the absolute standout brand in South Africa. One gentleman, identifiable, Brunt Pretorius. How important for you is it being the face of an incredible brand that you're looking to build?
Absolutely. It's probably one of my biggest mandates that I have for myself and for the company, is there are lots of brands coming in, there's lots of brands in South Africa, and there's lots of worry and there's lots of doubt. But for me, in taking the role on and taking this brand, one, I have to trust in it. Two, it's going to be my legacy that I'm going to do. I want to change the perception of what people think around certain brands of vehicles. And the only way I foresee that we can do that is to make these cars more South African. Nice. And what do I mean by that? Understand that these vehicles that people are purchasing are not just to get from A to B. They must complement the lifestyle that the people lead. They must complement the job that I have. They must complement what I do on the weekends. But more importantly, they must complement my entire lifestyle. We can talk about safety, we can talk about spec, we can talk about fuel economy, we can talk about all the buzzwords. At the end of the day, does this vehicle suit my needs? Is it safe? And is it going to fit my lifestyle? And that's what I want to try and guarantee to customers.
And that is spot on. Now, talk about guaranteeing to customers. You've got a very good dealer network, growing all the time. If I said to you right now, roughly, how many dealerships open across the country?
We currently have 43 open and operational dealerships, with another 4 opening within the month of March to take us to 47 within South Africa. Our newest opening just outside the borders is Windhoek. We've opened in Windhoek. That will be ready as early as next week.
Don't get me started on Namibia. I absolutely love the country. Tell me you're going to Swakopmund as well.
We do. We will have a service center to start with.
Nice.
There, and then as we grow and as we get a car park, we'll be opening a second showroom in Swakopmund. So we'll have 47 dealers by the end of March.
Okay, that is fantastic. Now think about this. The brand came to South Africa in October. That is by no means aggressive, but that is absolute planning. You are showing intent. The dealerships that you are working with, the dealer groups, they are top quality dealer groups. They're not the fly-by-nights. Some of the bigger brands that you're working with in terms of dealer groups?
So we've got Super Group. More recently, we've signed on with Hatfield. We've got Bidmest McCarthy, but more important is our independent network that we have. We've gone and we've partnered with area specialists.
Nice.
Those names in the smaller areas that are trusted. You know, you take a group like BB Group, very trusted nationally, but in a town like Lydenburg, everybody knows that it's BB Group. Morgan Group in Kimberley, and we are now with...
Are you working with Eastville?
We are working with Eastwell, absolutely. We'd be remiss not to. So we've partnered with big groups, and we've also partnered with small groups.
Yes.
And we've partnered with independents.
There's a specific reason I asked you who you're working with. A brand comes into the country. They want to grow quickly. Now they give away a dealership to every single independent dealer who's got the money to pay for it, but he hasn't got the backup. He hasn't got the facilities. You're going to have a problem. When you talk about Super Group, top brand. They've got all the brands within their group. Bidmest McCarthy, Hatfield, Morgan Group. You've gone out from the very beginning and you've ticked all the right boxes. If I say to you now, just under 50, 9 provinces, a year from now, where would you see Jetour?
I'd say 55 dealers nationally. Why do I say that? We've got to make our dealers profitable.
Of course.
We've got to give them a wide enough AOR in order to operate and to maximize.
And when you talk about AOR for the public?
Area of responsibility
Nice.
for that dealership. So one, I've got to make sure that the dealership has a wide enough area to sell to,
Yes.
so that they can make money. But also, I've got to make sure that it's convenient for my customer to get to a service center. So that's the balancing act that we currently have.
So what is absolutely critical that I mentioned at this juncture, a brand like Mazda, long established in South Africa, they've got roughly 32, 33 dealerships. You're already 50% bigger than an exceptional brand selling exceptional products. Warranties on the Jetour, because for me, when I buy a car, the warranty, it's not just the number, it's not unlimited kilometers, it's not 5 years, it's what is the warranty. And I'd love to chat on that.
Sure. So we give a comprehensive warranty. It differs from model to model at the moment.
Your lowest?
But, so we're running a 5-year 90,000 or
Nice.
5-year 100,000 warranty. But the more critical thing on it is we do have a service plan that comes standard. We also have the option for a customer to take on a maintenance plan. Why do we make it an option? It all comes down to affordability,
Of course.
right, for that customer and giving the customer choice. But our biggest kind of win that we have is our engine warranty, and that's the backing that we have in our product. You know, we can throw out any types of warranties, etc., but if we don't have the parts and the service and the workshop knowledge to do it, then the warranty actually doesn't really mean all that much. I think every brand will tell you our cars are safe, our cars are reliable, we have this. We would rather let our service and our service centers do the talking.
Right. Now, we spoke about being part of the greater Chery Group. Chery are absolute standout when it comes to that 1,000,000-kilometer warranty. Everybody's talking about that. You talk about your engine warranty. Would you share that with us?
Yes, sure. So we also have the 1,000,000-kilometer or 10-year engine warranty. That's the backing that we have on our engines.
That is incredible. If you're looking for a brand that absolutely believes in itself, you've got it right here. Model launches. So you've got to keep up to date. How many models roughly at the moment in South Africa?
So we're currently running with 2 models, Dashing and X70 Plus, and 2 derivatives within each. We are looking to expand that range going forward. We're just waiting for production dates. And within that range, we'll also have a facelift coming early next year. Then the most exciting product that we have, which is our flagship product, which we'll be launching in 2025, is the T2. And
Wow.
coupled with that, we'll be bringing in the T1.
Now, in terms of engines in those vehicles, you've got to share with us, because I'm like a little boy. I'd love to know that.
Sure. So we have our 1.5 engine that we have, 1.5 turbocharged engines. Yes, we do have that. Why do we bring those engines in? It's to be able to keep the price point for the South African consumer.
Nice.
We will also be introducing in the T1 and the T2 range the 2-liter turbo, as well as later on a PHEV.
Now, something interesting, you spoke earlier about South Africa being the first right-hand drive market. When you think of large right-hand drive markets in the world, New Zealand, Australia, England, what was it about South Africa that China saw as so appealing?
So definitely the size of market.
Nice.
The size of market in South Africa is very important. All the meetings that we have there, they look at the size of market. I think South Africa is a really, really good place to come in and cement and to get some volume in there and to do testing on vehicles. Let's be honest, our conditions are quite harsh here in South Africa. So yeah, the Chinese absolutely, and Jetour specifically, really value the South African market. They see it as a growth hub for the rest of Africa, most of East Africa, which is something we're also investigating as we go through. In the left-hand drive markets, Jetour in Africa, Jetour is actually dominating, winning awards in Angola. Last year they were one of the top-selling SUVs. Move a little bit further out to the UAE. The T2 is the top-selling SUV in the UAE at the moment. So yeah, looking to expand into other markets. But from all my dealings with HQ, South Africa is one of the most important growth points in terms of not just South Africa, but Africa at large.
But that is fantastic. You know, many times we think of South Africa as a very small market, sure, compared to China itself, compared to Russia, compared to the US, that's got 330 million people. Of course, we are a smaller market. But compared to Australia, compared to many European countries, are we on a par?
Yes, so in terms of volume, probably slightly less, and that's why they've chosen to use us first. Currently, we are collaborating with other right-hand drives for T1, T2, and for facelift, Dashing and X70 Plus, working on the specs, getting those economies of scale right. So we're currently collaborating with Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia to get what we call the base spec correct on the vehicle, something that we can all agree upon. For example, for us in a big SUV, we need 19 or 20-inch wheels, where in Thailand and Indonesia, they're going, but hold on, we can do it smaller. So we have to come to those kind of agreements, and then the more spec we can agree on, the better it is for economies of scale to bring it in.
Interesting. So they often say, don't judge a book by its cover. I take a slightly different take on that. I always judge a book by its cover, and allow me to clarify. I look at the Jetour car, just pure looks-wise, absolutely amazing. It is standout.
Need advice? Visit changecars.co.za and click on the Ask Mikey tab.
So there's not a shadow of doubt in my mind, and I'm not trying to catch you off guard. If there's one thing when a new product comes into market is backup. And when I say backup, spares. I take my car for a routine service. I don't want to be told, sorry, we're waiting for brake pads. For me, completely unacceptable. What are parts availability like on Jetour?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because it is one of our strengths. It was what we had planned before the vehicles even got here. The warehouse was planned and stocked.
So you saying you had parts before the vehicles came in?
Correct. We had parts, and we had parts on order coming in, and we had all the planning. Of course, you can't start a new brand and fly everything on one air freight, so we had them coming in. So we, at the moment, if I talk current, we have close to 60 million rands worth of parts on shelf. Sitting there. We've got 25 million on order over the next 2 months, and we've got another 25 on plan for the months following that. We're currently carrying about 55,000 pieces.
55,000 pieces
within our parts warehouse. It is located at my offices, so I check on my parts department twice a day to make sure that it's running. We've partnered with industry-leading experts in order to give us the tools that we need, Power BIs, forecasting, etc. And then what we've done is, with our dealer network, we've gone out with an action plan to them and given them minimum stock orders to carry, initial parts orders for serviceable items, and it's a partnership between us and them. They carry the parts. If they don't have a part, we're running 2 to 3 local deliveries a day, overnight deliveries to out-of-town dealers, but it's more of a partnership and ensuring the dealers that the part should never could never get into dead stock. If you have an issue, we'll move it, we'll do what it is.
But so both parties have got a vested interest here. I'm a dealer. I understand that you're the OEM, but you buy your car from my dealership, you bring it in for a service, and I can't service that car. You don't even think about the OEM. It's only a reflection on me. So you're saying the dealerships at any given time, they've got those parts on the shelf, ready, car comes in for a service, needs brake pads, whatever routine service is, they've got that.
Continuous daily effort with the dealers to ensure that that happens, looking at stock levels, looking at minimum stock levels. So for now, I can confidently say, yes, they do.
So interesting. If you've ever built a house, I always say, see the end result before you break ground. You've got your plans, you know what your chimney is going to look like before you've broken ground. The fact that you said you had the parts in the country before, I can say again and again, if I have to recommend a Chinese product that starts with a J, ends with an R, and has a super cool name, Jetour. So we spoke about the 10-year, 1 million kilometer warranty, but in reality, nobody's going to do 1 million kilometers unless you're going to the moon. The actual warranty, as I understand it, 5 years, 150,000 kilos?
Correct.
So again, look at it against the industry leader, Toyota. 3 years, 100,000 kilos. When do I need a warranty? Do I need a warranty when my car is new, or do I need a warranty when my car's got a bit of kilos? If you said to me, I'm not giving you a warranty for the first 2 years, I'll be fine. Give me a warranty for years 3 through 7. What else does a warranty cover? So we said 5 year, 150,000 kilos. Service plan? What are we looking at?
Service plan, 5 years, 60,000.
Standard. Can I upgrade that if I want to?
Absolutely. We'll
to 1 million kilometers?
Not quite. Well, we could probably look at it, but we'll tailor make it for a customer to what they're looking for.
So when I think of a service plan, if I say to you 10, 12,000 kilometers a year, that is low to very low mileage. 15 to 20 is average. 25 to 30 is average to high. I wanted to upgrade it to a 5-year, 120,000 kilos. So I'm working on roughly 24,000 kilos a year. What would that cost me, just roughly?
Between 20 and 25,000.
My absolute suggestion to anybody listening and watching, take it. It will be offered to you by the Jetour dealer.
100%.
Take it. That is your absolute peace of mind. Plus, should you look to sell the car after 2 or 3 years, you can say the car still got 3 years service plan, another 80,000, 90,000 kilos. Absolutely critical. It's the little things that make ownership a pleasure. I'll say it again and again on this podcast. All we want as South Africans is the new models that are coming in South Africa. Show us you are serious about the country. Show us that you value our business. Nic, the approach that you and your team have taken, not just because you're on this podcast, how you are opening up the dealerships, how you're talking about the product, how you know your product. I want to say I wish you the very, very best. And I promise you, if you are looking for a Chinese product and you ask me what would I recommend, it starts with a J. It sounds cool. It looks good. Nic, appreciate having you on board. And to you and your team, all the best.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Keep it for Change Cars. We are the face and voice of motoring podcasts in South Africa.